Welcome back to Somerset Place State Historic Site as we continue our series about the enslaved community in 1843. Today we're focusing on the Dick and Abagail Blount home, which was the 8th slave dwelling lining Lake Phelps. A total of 7 enslaved persons occupied this house, including George Gray, age 49, his wife Clarissa, age 48, and their 12-year-old daughter Marinda. Unfortunately, we have not uncovered any information about Marinda, but we do know more about her parents. George was born in 1794 to old Nanny Gray, who had 2 other children, and he passed away 4 years after his mother in 1849. Clarissa was the daughter of Gabe and Dinah, and according to another slave list, she suffered from poor eyesight by the time she was in her 40s, and she passed away at the age of 66. Also occupying the same dwelling in 1843 were 34-year-old Dick Blount, his 28-year-old wife Abagail Cabarrus, their 1-year-old son Madison, and Abigail's 18-year-old brother Ben Cabarrus. Abagail, Ben, and their sister Annie were orphaned as children when their mother Tiny Cabarrus passed away, and tragically Ben also died young at the age of 30. Dick Blount was born in 1809 and first appears at Somerset Place 20 years later, where he served as the enslaved personal servant to Josiah Collins III. In this capacity, he was responsible for dressing, bathing, and serving Josiah, so he worked in the Collins home either in the master bedroom or an adjacent small room that you see here. His position and access to the Collins family meant that he was at the top of the enslaved community's social hierarchy, and that was reflected in the monetary value assigned to him by his enslavers. In 1839, he was the second highest valued enslaved person at $900, which is equivalent to nearly $22,000 today. Dick Blount was also married by that time, and he and Abagail eventually had at least 4 children: Madison, whom we mentioned earlier, Nicodemus, Tom Randall, and Lucretia. Tragically, Madison is presumed to have died around 1843, and Tom passed away 10 years later. With the outbreak of the Civil War, Dick and Abagail's family were taken to Hurry-Scurry in Franklin County and were one of just 6 enslaved families to remain intact while there. Unfortunately, though, Dick became ill in 1863, and Mary Collins recorded in her account journal on November 27th that she paid $8.50 for, quote, extra comforts for sick man Dick Blount. He passed away shortly thereafter. Also in 1863, Abigail's sister Annie and Annie's husband Alec Bennett passed away, leaving Abagail all by herself to care for their 2 children, Cora and Uriah, alongside her own. The 5 of them returned to Somerset Place in 1865 as free persons, and by the time of the 1880 census, 70-year-old Abagail was recorded as living and working in the home of a white farmer named William Owens. She worked as his house servant, and she died sometime thereafter. Although we don't know what happened to her children, we do know more about her niece and nephew, and we'll talk more about them in a future video. So in the meantime, be sure to subscribe and ring that bell to receive a notification when we post our next video, and until then, thanks for joining us.